In the previous video, we looked at the certificate management tools. In this video, we look at the vSphere 6.x single sign-on CLI tools. These tools are the dir CLI, the VMA FD CLI, and the VEX CLI. The VEX CLI is the vSphere endpoint certificate store CLI, so that's for managing certificate stores and entries in that certificate store. The VMA FD is the VMware authentication framework daemon that kind of underpins the SSO architecture, and the dir CLI is basically for user management, group management, and a few other small things. So we'll go into the lab to see how to actually use these CLIs. So we're just going to take a brief look at some of the other CLIs. Not going to go into too much detail. I'll show you the help menus, and then because this is an advanced course, I'm sure you'll be able to figure out what to do next. But at least I will point you to where these CLIs exist and what they actually can do. So I'm logged into my platform services controller at .82, and I'm in the library userlib VMware VMA FD /bin. When I do an ls, I see there are some interesting CLIs here. dir CLI, which is basically for directory management, user management, service management, password resets, and so on. The VEX CLI, that is used for the VMware endpoint certificate store management, and the VMAFD CLI, which we have seen bits and pieces of it before. We'll just go briefly into it again, but that's the VMware authentication framework daemon CLI. So let's look at ./dir CLI help, and we'll pipe it to more, and we should be able to see that there's a whole group of arguments here that have to do with services, and we can do a service list, and you see there are various solutions that are running up there with the service like the VPXD daemon, the VPXD extension, the VMware service for the web client, and so on. And then we have user create, so we should have some other ones like user modify, user delete, user find by name. Then you have group modify and group lists, SSO groups, and trusted certificates, and of course the usual ones one would expect, which would be password create, password reset, and password change as well. So using the dir-CLI, you're able to reset passwords, change passwords, you can create passwords, and you can create and delete users, and so on. The other ones are VEX CLI. So -VEX I, and we will key in help here as well, and we will make sure we pipe it properly to more. So we can create certificate stores, we can list the existing stores, and so on. We can specify permissions, and then we can create and manage entries on those, and we can get certificates from a store for these as well, and we can refresh here. So let's take a look at store list. I would imagine would do it ./CLI store list. We are looking to see what stores exist on this platform services controller, and we see that there are these. There's a machine SSL certificate store, trusted roots, CRLS stores. There's a machine store, there's a web client store, and there's a backup store where the backup certificates are kept, so that in case one has to reset, which are options available in the certificate manager and CLIs, you can actually reset that as well, which means you can restore back to the prior version of the certificates that were in place. Once we have that, we can look at entries also. Let's just key in help one more time to make sure we do this right. Machine SSL cert is one of them. Entry list in a store. So we'll key in VEX CLI, entry list, and the store is machine SSL cert, if I got that correct. Then there will be the one entry in that store, which is the certificate for your, it's the private key, and this is it's the certificate for your machine, which is essentially used for encrypting your traffic. Having looked at some of the other command line interfaces that are available in the single sign-on architecture, in the next section we will look at administering and managing vSphere 6.x resources.